Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta. Tonight we have Dear Guy and Goatman. So, for those of you just tuning in, creepypastas are short internet stories that copy and paste across the internet, whether it be on Reddit, No Sleep, wiki pages, forums, go Google it. And we're actually touching on what I thought was going to be some more Skinwalker stuff, because we have some more lined up down the road. However, that's probably not the case. Also, you may notice that Mikey, the E stands for evil, is not with us today. He was ill. So we are pressing forward. So, yeah, with
How does Starfield get ill?
It's messy. It's very messy.
Alright, fair enough.
So, Dear Guy, I couldn't find the writer for it, but it's read by a couple of people on YouTube, including Paradox Noctis. And it's also on Creepypasta Wiki under their nature genre, which I guess kind of fits, but same. Dear Guy fits a little bit more than Goatman did in the nature subcategory.
And he says the words woods like 20,000 times in like 3 paragraphs or however short it was. And
it was about 3. Actually, I did put it into Google Docs. It was about like 2 pages and like 1 line. So,
take your word on that. Goatman would have filled up.
Oh yeah,
the rest
Goatman finished like a third. Yeah, no, it basically filled up the rest of that page. So, yeah, we'll do the rundown. I'll do the rundown. It's pretty quick. Narrator is recalling his uncomfortableness or fear of the woods at night that he's had since he was young. They connect this fear to a recurring nightmare they would have of a slender, naked, deer-headed man. The figure came out of the woods by his window to stare at him, even when he was on the 2nd floor. It would keep him up till exhaustion claimed him, but really wouldn't do anything else. It would just pop up and start watching him over the course of the night. He's recalling these after 8 years, as he's now lives in a house in the Michigan woods. I should also mention that he doesn't mention earlier that the original events occurred in Michigan's rural area. His room has a big window in it that moonlight and shadows cast in on him as he faces away typing this account on his laptop or on his computer. And then one of the shadows he's noticed has antlers. Dun dun dun. End of the story. So these are also Dear Guy and Goatman are both like pretty short pastas. Goatman even more so. That's my thoughts on this one. So he goes on about this fear of the woods at night, and goes on about not knowing where it came from, and then goes to explain
tell us where it came from
with this Dear Guy boogeyman that he's had. So it's just like, if you don't do like this happened in bedtime, I think, or one of the bedtime stories.
I have a horrible fear of water spigots. I don't know where it came from. But one time I was sprayed by this hot water spigot.
Exactly. Like it's happened a couple of times in creepypasta that we've done where like they're like, I don't know where this fear comes from, and then as the story goes on, they basically just
realize that well, if I don't know where it came from, I don't have a story, so I'm going to proceed to tell you where it came from.
Yeah, and just forget to delete that first part.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it was two or three paragraphs we get at the beginning explaining why he doesn't like the woods, because he likes cities at night.
He has no fear of the dark.
Yeah, it's just the woods, because he gets this like oppressive like hate that kind of like like spills down on him from the trees.
Which just seems like overkill, because I mean, I like going out into the woods at night. It's like the woods at night are a different creature. They're different.
There are
different sounds. There's different animals that go about in the night than during the day. Like, don't get me wrong, I also enjoy the woods during the day. But it's
definitely a different creature.
And you could have just basically said that.
Yeah.
And anyone with a reasoning mind would have been like, okay, that works for me.
Yeah.
Like, to say that the trees ooze hatred like sap.
Okay, I have that in my notes. Call me Canadian, I really like that metaphor. I really did
I like
that.
the metaphor, but it doesn't need to be here.
I know, but I really liked that descriptor. Like that was actually probably one of the best things of this story was that line.
Yes, it paints a very lovely word picture, but I mean, like, it's kind of overstating the facts.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's Michigan, but come on, it's not that bad. It is the state of Detroit, or the state Detroit is in, but
okay, you actually you've given me a segue into one of my fun little gripes.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like towards the end where he's talking about how he bought this modern cottage in the woods of the lower peninsula. Like,
yeah,
is that
Michigan's a peninsula?
okay?
Yeah, because it's basically it's where like Georgian Bay or like Lake Superior and like Lake Michigan and Ontario, that's
okay.
Yeah.
However, Michigan is also a fucking state.
It's also huge. Like,
exactly.
It is a peninsula. Like
there is a peninsula in it, I believe, is what you should be saying.
Yeah.
However, anywho, it's hard to find anywhere in Michigan that isn't a forest or a swamp, but I sure tried. Well, first off, this is all try fucking Detroit.
Yeah. Actually, to be fair, I've traveled through Michigan twice now on road trip down to Indianapolis, and yeah, Detroit, and then like there are large sprawling cities, at least in the southern part. So
yeah, but he's saying that it's hard to find a place in Michigan
that isn't
a forest or a swamp.
Yeah.
There are large cities in Michigan.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Did you? I mean, I know it's Detroit, but did you try Detroit?
like, narrow it down.
Yeah.
You cannot make blanket statements like that about an entire state.
Yeah.
Like, I could say the same thing about Ontario.
Yeah. Like,
however, if I wanted to be more accurate, I could say it about Northern Ontario.
yeah.
Because, you know, anyone who's smart enough to rub two sticks together, or dumb enough, could be like, Toronto?
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
Like Southern Ontario is like Southern and Central Ontario, they're pretty well occupied by human civilization. Northern Ontario, you get a little bit more of a pass because it basically is like scattered cities and towns, but they're still cities too. And Michigan is the same. Like, I've looked at a map of Michigan like multiple times. I've seen like all the towns that are in Michigan. Like, yes, there's a lot of woods, and I'm sure there's a lot of swamps as well, but the carpet statement is a little silly.
Yeah, you've gotta like eke out like this region and say, okay, yes, in here it's hard to find, a place that isn't forest or swamp, because again, I mean, don't get me wrong, maybe Detroit's built on a swamp.
It would explain something.
You can actually, well
okay, that's a little bit, I'm sorry.
It happens.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you're making this blanket statement that is like clearly not true, based on no Google search.
Yeah, like I'd actually like to see if the person, like, if the person's from Michigan, obviously, and writing the story about like their home state, use a county that they know that is really rural.
Yeah,
like don't reference an actual like in-world place, because
narrow it down a bit, because
Michigan is a huge it may be a peninsula, mostly a peninsula, like that goes off out into the Great Lakes, but it's still a fucking huge chunk of land. Like, yeah.
It's a huge chunk of land with a major city that can readily be come up with by virtually anyone.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, hell, say the peninsula part. Like, narrow it down.
Yeah.
Because you make a blanket statement like that, an easily, like, wrong statement that should have been caught, and now the rest of your story, the credibility is just gone.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, yeah. Also, to segue from that, with blanket statements, every child has a boogeyman or something like that, or like a creepy like thing or something like that, and like every adult is like laughed off that like creepiness. Like, I'm sorry, like I didn't have that in my notes. Like I took that out of my notes originally, but now that I'm thinking on it, it's like, yeah, that's really kind of a blanket statement that like we're like, not every person like is going to like laugh off their childhood fears. Like, it's a little bit more. Again, it's a blanket statement.
Well, and I didn't have a boogeyman as a kid. Not a particular boogeyman. I had, uneasiness at night and, fear, and I had, I had a recurring nightmare, and, like, I had a lot of other typical kid things, but I didn't have, like, my own boogeyman.
Yeah. And I mean, like, from my point of view, I had 3, technically.
Yeah, see, one of them was mine.
And most of the time it was severed hands coming over the wall. Like, I envisioned, like, severed hands crawling up from the corner of the door into my bedroom. But, like, then that changed to, like, a goblin creature thing, and then an alien. Like, but, like, yeah, like, not, like, you don't, like, not every kid has a single entity.
Yeah.
Just as, like, not every kid has an entity at all. Like, sometimes it's just an uneasy feeling of the dark.
Or just, like, an entity, but, like, for one day.
Yeah.
And then the next day comes up with something more horrible,
exactly.
or less horrible, but more laughable.
Like, because it's more, like, basically, it's like, cause again, it's like children, like, imagination, like, is, like, twisting on them, basically.
Exactly. And I mean, like, it's the individuality of the human race. I mean, we all have different experiences with different things. But yeah.
And a blanket statement that everybody has a singular boogeyman. Like,
yeah.
No, like, again, that could have been written a lot better. Like, a lot differently.
Yeah.
To make it... Because
lots of children.
I'm actually now really regretting not putting
and
that
of those children, lots of adults.
Yeah.
Like, bam, I fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I actually learned a new slang word, or dialect thing.
I know what it is.
Is it crick?
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually not...
I've used that around
I've heard it... Really?
Yeah.
I've heard it once otherwise, like, elsewhere, but I wasn't sure if it was an actual, like, thing, or if it was just somebody's, like, accent. But no, crick, C-R-I-C-K, is a word for creek in the U.S. dialect, according to dictionary.com.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's actually a real word. Okay. Like, I just thought it was, like, something with the accent. Like,
I wouldn't call it a real word. I would call it a slang.
Yeah.
Because they're... And I mean, like, I use it sometimes because, honestly, sometimes putting the effort into that long E is just not worth it for me.
Yeah. And it basically is the same. It's shallow creek.
Yeah, it's the same shit, yeah.
Yeah. Also, so you took my, you stole my thunder with the sap thing, because I was like, I had that in mind. I was like, call me Canadian, but I like that.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Oh yeah, here's one. So, this is a quote. Nothing spectacularly horrifying, no. But the thought of turning my back to the window as it stepped, purposefully and fluidly, like a deer steps, across the glade and into the light of the moon to stop in front of the glass and stare at me with the cold black eyes of a stag made my blood freeze in my veins. Holy run-on sentence, Batman! Like... I guess I'm filling the role of Mikey here, but, like, Jesus Christ. Run-on sentences.
Yeah.
It's something I noticed, actually, it was 2 episodes ago, I think. I noted that, like, you guys are kind of rubbing off on me, because I'm starting to see these a lot more and get annoyed by them. Yeah, so run-on sentences were rampant. This one's kind of a nitpick thing. He uses mom earlier... and then switches to mother. I feel it could be a nitpick either way, but just stick with one or the other throughout the entire story. Like, it's not that long a story, so, like, we don't have enough time to forget that you said, like, one word and then use the other term for it. Or the honorific, I guess, for it.
Yeah, that is a nitpick.
A nitpick? Yeah, I figured.
They both mean the same thing.
I know, but it's just, like, when it comes to, like using the word, like, in
Now,
in
if he had have gone from... the North American mom and randomly switched to the British mum,
Yeah.
that would have been weird.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
But, I mean, they're both the same thing. One's just shorter.
Yeah. And yet that one was the one that they used the first. I kind of like the ending and the tie-in explanation for writing this story, like the whole like recalling like a fear that because he's like suddenly realizing that he's made a horrible choice in real estate or in property owning and is basically having something come back to bite him in the ass. But at the same time, now that we have the context for like from the story being explained, and now we have the zinger that happens at the end, like I can like the shadows like come in from the from the trees are pouring into my room. Oh shit! One of them has antlers, and like kind of understands. Like I actually did kind of get a chill from that. Like okay, like just a slight chill, and I was like, okay, that was actually pretty good. I like that final line, but. Now it's getting to the good part because, like, I want there to be more of a story,
right,
to explain what's going on next. Also in the story, Deer Guy is not all that threatening. It's a cool, creepy image that I can visualize in my head, and I would probably be very unnerved if I saw something like that outside my window, as a kid or an adult.
Well, I mean, it's oh man. Leave the... Wow.
Wendigo? Moose?
No.
Minotaur?
Thank you!
Yeah, it's basically a North American Minotaur.
Well, no, because deer are also pretty prevalent throughout.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Or actually somebody...
And we have bulls here.
Fair. Also, actually, somebody brought up that the entity could actually be Cernunnon. I'm sorry for anybody who's Celtic. It's basically a Celtic deer god who's a deer, like an antlered human in the woods.
Actually, that was the impression I got from this whole thing, just because it just seems to be doing its own thing. Mm-hmm. And to me, that comes from the realm of gods as opposed to random
like
monster.
Nature spirit, basically a nature spirit.
Yeah, a nature spirit or like a nature god or like one of those old pagan gods or something, and as opposed to like just a monster that's, because...
Like the Wendigo or the Skinwalker.
Yeah, because they usually have a goal or something, even if it's just to kill and eat and whatnot, whereas...
It's just
a nature spirit, or like could just be like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, like
you know what? I'm just gonna look at you.
Yeah, like it even like he even mentions that it almost timidly comes across the glade to him, like a deer, like watching, like keeping making a cautious, being cautious and stuff. And it's like that's not the sign of like a monster. That's
sorry, still can't breathe. Coffee.
Oh god. Oh, God.
Experiment 207 failed. We'll retry in the morning.
Nice. Yeah, like with Wendigos and Skinwalkers, like they're a monster. They have like an animalistic urges and stuff like that. This thing is not presenting that at all. It's basically,
or if it is, it has the same it has the same instincts, for lack of a better word, as the animal that it has body parts of.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, and again, like the whole as soon as he said he was on the second floor, I was like, oh, that's like visualizing that like kind of gave me a little bit of a chill because humans elongating at all, like with like legs and limbs and whatever, like to get up on like a second floor, that's always kind of creepy because it breaks what we're used to seeing in the human body.
Yeah, because the deer head just wasn't enough.
I mean.
I hear you.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, it's an unnerving image, but it doesn't do anything to merit long-term fear aside from the hate glare. Like maybe if it gets an extension, have the deer guy do something.
Yeah,
because otherwise it's just like I'm not threatened by the like this story is presenting us with a monster that, as far as I can tell, is not a threatening thing. It's just basically a possible stalker. And that's creepy in its own right, like in the real world, like that kind of scenario. But there's not enough evidence in this story to kind of to merit that it's going to try something exactly, or that it's going to try something because like it hasn't presented any evidence otherwise. Like it hasn't tried to break in at any point in his childhood stories. And
actually, I think a really, really good addition would be when he was a kid. Have one of the have a stormy night, and the dear guy, comes out of the woods and breaks the window with his antlers, and everyone comes, so dear guy fucks off, and everyone just thinks it was the branches of a tree in the storm.
Yeah.
That would have been that would have added a level of menace. It's like, oh shit, it's coming for you.
Yeah, because he says it hates him. Like it always gives him these death glares, but it doesn't do anything about it. So yeah, like to actually have that, or maybe it's all in his head. Like again, like that would be an interesting.
Well, and that's part of the thing.
Damn it, it was sleep paralysis the whole time.
Maybe it was just the overactive imagination of a kid, and it was just the tree branches, and then I'm. The ending, I'm too terrified to turn around because it could just be branches, but one of the shadows has antlers.
Yeah. We just made the story better.
Yeah. By throwing in that, is it or isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, seriously, whoever wrote this, if you're listening to us, first off, let me know who you are so I can credit you for this. And also, do something more with this story. This is, it had potential. That's the problem with the story, is it had potential at the ending, but you stopped.
It had, well, yeah. I want to see Dear Guy used properly. Dear Guy. I just cannot get over that. Just brings me to South Park Canadians.
Yeah, no, I know.
Dear Guy.
I'm not your buddy.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, God. So that's my thoughts on Dear Guy. Do you have anything extra before we move on, or?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Okay. So now we're going to go to a story where the monster is a little too threatening, or a little too efficient at being a threat. And we'll get into that when we go to my thoughts on that. So, Goatman.
Sorry, still coffee in my lungs because I cannot breathe it.
Damn it. One day. We're Goatman. Again, no author I could find. So if you listen to this and you're like, hey, I wrote Goatman.
Well, I mean, if there had been a written by, that would have tripled the length of the post.
Okay, that's not true. But it's also online on YouTube, readings of it. Actually, there's a pretty decent one by Nadazak. I'll leave a link in the description below toward that one. And basically the rundown is this. A narrator is telling a campfire story tale of a Native American, in quotes, legendary creature known as the Goatman, as he was told the story at a campfire just like this one, or as he was told at a campfire by somebody else. These things, so the Goatman, according to this legend, shapeshifts into people and raids people's homes. Yes?
I have a question. Okay, so you're a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
And you choose to look like a Goatman.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I guess it's the same premise as the Skinwalkers.
Because, a Goatman would be ugly as fuck, but, you can look like whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the whole, I know you're being a dick, but it's the same, that's their true form, right? So,
I'm just being a white North American and shitting on a Native American legend.
Fair enough. But yeah, so they shapeshift into people, and that's what makes them dangerous, because they wait outside your home if you've taken something from them, like a bone, or the remains of a dead one or something like that, or if you've taken a photograph of a Goatman, they will wait outside your house till you leave, and then they will break and enter and take that thing and ransack the house. So then there was this incident where the power was out at a reserve, and some guys decided to set up a campfire in the near desert, just like the narrator's campfire experience when he was told the story to begin with. A strange man came out of the desert, and wasn't Satan. Well, actually, that's up to debate. and sits in with them as someone's telling the tale of the Goatman. When the guys eventually get tired and decide to leave for to go back to town, there's not enough room in their car for this stranger, so they kind of just leave him there. And oh no, it turns out to be the Goatman, and he turns into his form and starts chasing the car and flips the car before dragging the men into the desert. They were never seen again. And we then get a warning that the Goatman could be anyone near you. Your boss, your teacher, even your best friend. And that's the end.
you gave that way more gravitas than the story.
I know. So my thoughts on this one. Here's actually, it starts with a quote. It's thought that if you find a bone of one, or take a photograph and keep it in your house, it will wait. For what, you ask? The answer is, they wait for you to leave. Once you leave, they ransack the place until they find what you took from them. So really, they seem like just repo men, or just reclaiming what's rightfully theirs that you stole from them. Even at the end, it seems like this guy just got pissed that his name or the name of his people was being besmirched, and decided to teach these guys a lesson. Not really villainous, just kind of vengeful or proud. If you take it in that light. This next, and then we have this.
Well, and there's no reason for the attack at the end.
Yeah,
because
he tells the story, and then
they
can't give him a lift back into town.
Well, no, but at the start of the pasta, they lay down, what happens. Basically, the Goatman's MO.
Yeah, and then they break.
And then at the end of the story, they give an encounter with the Goatman, but the MO is completely different.
Yeah, because it's not the encounter.
They didn't take anything of him.
Yeah,
they didn't take a picture. Last I checked, he had all of his bones.
But or maybe he's just a critic, and he's just really pissed off. He's like, I want my 15 minutes back from listening to that goddamn story.
Well, and yeah. Oh, okay. They did actually talk about the legend of the Goatman.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about, and he was getting a little bit more interested.
Sorry, there were so many fires and so many stories of the Goatman that I lost track of just how many it was.
You dove into you weren't sure how
there was a fucking rabbit hole of campfire or bonfires and Goatman stories.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the next thing I have is a common issue with just campfire stories in general. Actually, so here's the quote: "What happened to them? You ask. Well, they were never found. Then who was left to tell the tale? Did the Goatman come back to tell someone? Was there a witness to them being dragged off into the woods or to the desert?"
Well, how do we know about the stranger who sat around the fire?
Yeah, exactly. Somebody had to have survived.
How do we know what they saw in the rear view mirror?
Yeah, it's the problem. It's dead men tell no tale. We don't know the story. And then as an attachment note, here's another quote. They can shapeshift. Didn't I tell you? That homeless man begging for change could be one. Or your boss, teacher, or even your friends. Or, and then this is me putting something in, or the writer of this story, since that would tie in really well and make a little bit more sense than what we have. Since people went missing and were never heard from again, and the narrator knows so much about this story that apparently no one should know about, except for people involved. But yeah, that's basically my notes on that one. It's just it's the common, it's the kind of the paradox or the not the paradox, the flaw in telling a story in telling a campfire story where there were no survivors.
Yeah. Because
who told the story, or who came back to relay the story?
Yeah, and it's just okay. Yeah, my notes on this are pretty sparse. I mean, first off, there's nothing here. There is no real story here. It's too damn short.
Yeah,
it's not. There's no narrative. And like I said earlier, I don't know how many campfires and stories being told around campfires there are in this fucking story, but there are
at least 3.
There's too many.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the person telling us the story who was told this story at a campfire, and then they were told, and then and the story the original story involved a campfire just like the one from the second one.
And they tell the legend of Goatman.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's... And again, my real big gripe is that the Goatman's motive at the end for, like, flipping the truck is not the established MO that we were given earlier.
Yeah, like, you give us that MO.
This Goatman, or at least the Goatman in the third story,
yeah,
is just a dick.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
yeah,
it's just like...
Oh, you can't give me a lift back to town? Well...
Fuck you too, buddies.
Fuck you too, guy. I can run faster than your trucks, though.
So why do I need your car? Whatever, you guys are dicks. That's what I'm sticking to it. Yeah, no, like, if you're gonna, like, give us, like, the MO of a monster, fucking have your example story that ties into it be the same MO.
Yeah.
Like, have it be a breaking and entering story, like, at a reserve, maybe, even, or something like that. I don't know, like... Or like maybe they were just out in their backyard having a campfire like story and stuff like that, and they saw somebody break into like their neighbor's place or something like that, and then they found out that the neighbor had found some weird bones outside, or like a weird like antler or something like that.
Yeah, it's just,
or I guess horn since it's the Goatman.
Yes. But yeah, it's, I don't know, based on the MOs. Well, the MO of the Goatman and the events of that story with the flip truck, it's 2 different things.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you about the Goatman. Hey, there's this attack from a giant squid I want to tell you about, too. I'm going to tell you the legend of the Goatman, and then an anecdote from the giant squid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really annoying to have that kind of contradiction, or like that wishy-washy. It's like, oh, let's do this, and now I'm going to do this.
Yeah, it's...
And at least try and find some way to tie those 2 together.
And to have that, just that division in this story that, like, almost fits on the screen of my phone all at
yeah,
once.
no, it's literally like at least a half a page.
And you've got this deviation, this horrible deviation. Like, how did you fit that deviation in such a small thing?
Yeah. Also, yeah, it's almost like they just basically they had, oh, well, like, I've heard of this little legend of the Skinwalker stuff or the Goatman thing, and then I've also heard of this, I remember hearing this campfire story as a kid. I'm going to combine the 2, but not put any work into blending them together, and just kind of patch them up, like, with stitches.
Yeah, or just set them next to each other.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Like,
That's how reattaching limbs goes, right? You just set them next to each other. Magic.
That's the magic way. Yeah, no, like, it's just, if you're gonna put words to paper, or I guess words to text, then fucking, like, put a little bit extra work, read through your story. It's like, oh, wait, these don't work together. I should do some additions to it. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, maybe make it a little bit longer, but also better.
Well, I think in this case, longer would have inherently meant better.
Yeah. Because,
or at least better would have inherently meant longer.
Yeah, because you would have had a little bit more. We would have had a little bit more context. Like with the Deer Guy, we get all the context in the first page and a half to 2 pages, and then the problem with that story though is that it just stops.
Stops when it's getting good.
Exactly. In this one, like, it's really just kind of a summary of a legend. And I mean, that's kind of that is how campfire stories usually do. Like, they're only like short stories, like short summaries of a story that somebody heard, like happened to a friend of mine, right? But yeah, you're trying to tell this campfire story online and stuff like that, and you want to have a little bit more meat on the bone.
Yeah, like, I'm not sitting around in the dark around a bonfire. Like, I don't have the atmosphere. I'm sitting in my living room, snug as a bug on a rug, and, you know, like, my ambiance is just horrible for being terrified.
It really is.
And then you're gonna tell me this horrible story but it's not really horrible.
Yeah,
and you're not going to put any effort. Like,
also, when the creature ran at the car, like outpaced the car and then like flipped it, I was like, well, we've just jumped the shark.
we flipped the truck.
Yeah, like shit. I was like, where the fuck is this coming from?
Yeah. So, apparently, something that he also never told us about the Goatman is that they're incredibly strong.
Yeah. Like, it would have made more sense for the guys to get back to town, have the thing wait outside one of their houses, or maybe the storyteller's house. Because, again, like, maybe the thing that it took was his fucking time, and he didn't like that. Because it was a shitty story that he told. And so basically he waits for the guy to come, leave, and then ransacks the house, and then, like, leaves, like, a message like, I want my 15 minutes back, asshole, or something like that. Like, that would be kind of a funner story, or funner end to the story than, yeah, their car got flipped, they got dragged out into the desert, no one ever saw them again. But who was phone?
There were no survivors.
But who was phone? But who was telling the story?
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much spent on both of these. We've basically exhausted both these stories.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say about a story this short?
Yeah.
It's short.
So, time to get down to brass tacks here. Recommendations. I'm going to say no to both of them. I wanted to like Dear Guy. Like, I liked the Dear Guy kind of, like, the name of, like, intrigued me enough to get it onto the show. And the concept in that story and the potential for that story is fun, but the way it was done, it was
presentation is lacking.
Exactly. And then Goatman, I mean, it's just a campfire story that could have been that's been told probably many times over at campfires. Probably
it's not updated to its medium.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's an issue.
Yeah, because creepypastas are basically the campfire stories of this generation of the digital age, but there has to be some update to the format. Because,
well, again, like, you don't.
They try to rely on exactly, and that's what a campfire story, like a creepy campfire story, relies on, like the fact that you're out at night, among like the wilderness with a campfire as the only source of light. Whereas, unless you're like in your room, completely pitch dark except for the light of your laptop or your computer screen, that's about the closest you get to that.
You can't read aloud The Shining around a campfire.
Yeah.
And you can't tell a campfire story in a well-lit room.
Exactly, yeah. That's actually a really good idea. Like, you can't tell a really well in-depth story like at a campfire story or at a campfire, and you can't tell the short abbreviated campfire story at your computer with the same result. Like, you have to modify it to make it better.
Exactly.
For the environment that your audience is going to be reading it at. Now, again, like, if somebody was to read this at a campfire story, I'm sure it would be fine, but it would be passable. At best, passable. For a campfire story. Like, for a story at a campfire. Because, like, basically it's over. Like, once it's over, and then, like, anybody with an overactive imagination might get creeped out, but otherwise that's about it. Otherwise, you're probably going to get some critics at the campfire story. It's like, well, who told the story then? Or who told you the story? If everybody was taken out.
Dear God, I received a letter in the mail. I read this. Dear God, this is what happened.
Sincerely, Goatman. So no recommendation from the cultist for either of these ones. Though the person writing Dear Guy, Dear Guy, please make this story better. Like, take what we've tossed at you, and you take from it what you will to try and improve that story, because you have, like, you're getting to the good part. You were getting to the good part with that one. So,
well, the bones are kind of there for it.
Yeah, like, the structure's there. Like, we have the context now for why your character is, like, freaking out over, like, some shadows of branches and trees.
You've got a first draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, add.
Yeah.
Which is not usually what you do after a first draft. But whatever.
Also, is not usually what we ask people to do with first drafts. It's usually get rid of this stuff. But yeah, so that's my recommendation. I assume yours are basically the same.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. There's some pretty weird pictures with Dear Guy, because I just can't say it, Dear Guy. Hey, I get. Woo! And I mean, Goatman is just
too short.
Yeah,
and
it's just a mess.
Yeah.
Like, go back to the drawing board with that one, and with Dear Guy, just it could be something.
Yeah. And that's like what I kind of sad about it, because I'd like to read that better story, a better version of that story.
See, I think the reason we're like that is because we both see Dear Guy and we're like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's just a cool idea. Like, because again, that's why I like what I get from creepypastas a lot of the time is just the cool concept that they're trying to portray. But
I don't know. I see Dear Guy as like an adequate B movie.
Yeah.
Where like
possibly
it's
from the 80s?
cheesy. Well, no, because it wasn't made in the 80s, obviously. But like I could see that
Dear Guy being a movie.
Yeah, I could see Dear Guy being the monster of a cheesy B movie that like has its humor but is also pretty
creepy because
fun.
It's fun, but also, and then the monster is kind of creepy because it's like it's a naked human being with a deer head.
We all know how terrified of those you are.
When they're running at me in the woods, yes. Not that that's ever happened. Twice, 3 times.
Not that ever happened that time.
Actually, you know what? That's a fair point for like movie versus or like this feels like a movie, like a B movie or something, because that's basically the same way I had felt with Fleshgate last episode, because that one.
Well, it's not like that this one feels like a movie. It's just I would like Dear Guy,
the monster to be a movie.
Yeah, because visually it's amusing and it could be pulled off with practical effects, which for me is always a benefit.
Yeah, and it'd be easily done, because basically it's just a taxidermed deer head on a person.
Well, I don't think you would use a taxiderm.
No, obviously not. But like basically that kind of like like a realistic looking deer mask, basically.
Yeah, I mean, if they could do the werewolves from Underworld with practical effects, then
they could do deer.
They could do
Dear
Guy.
Yeah,
Dear Guy.
Also, I just like. I would love to see I would love to see the challenge of making Dear Guy as a movie poster with that title and make it look kind of like creepy or threatening.
Oh, dude, I know how to do it.
All right.
It would be basically it would be an image with shadows, and you don't know whether or not you're actually seeing a Dear Guy.
Oh, okay, kind of like how the new Blair Witch poster shows, like basically the trees and stuff like that with the backdrop, and then shows like the sticks.
I haven't seen
okay.
it. I can't recall the poster, but yes.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll work on that.
For me, that would work.
Yeah. Or kind of like how like a lot of modern horror tries to like do that kind of like silhouette, or like that show the monster without showing the monster.
Yeah.
In the poster. Yeah, I can see that. I just mean like also the title, like being called Dear Guy. Like,
well, I think that would get fixed in a rewrite.
Yeah, it's like I don't know.
Like, Dear Guy is a good working title, but once you're actually getting to the...
It's a good Blue Milk, or Blue Harvest, or whatever it was for Star Wars.
Blue Harvest.
Blue Harvest.
And it wasn't Star Wars, it was Return of the Jedi.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yep. Because if they had have been saying, yes, we are filming the next Star Wars film, it would have been insane.
Yeah.
But if you say you're filming Blue Harvest, then, like, no one cares. Ooh, Blue Harvest.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, that's basically this week's episode. Tune in next time for some more, for probably some proper Skinwalker stuff. I believe that's what we have next on the roster. Basically, it seems like the start of spring is the start of Skinwalker spring. Because I have like at least 3 or 4 creepypastas that have Skinwalkers in them coming up.
Okay.
So that's this week's episode. If you like what you heard, if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below, or if this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. We're both on Twitter, as is Mikey at E Stands for Evil, at E Stands for Evil for Mikey, Dr. Leviathan for Dr. Leviathan, and Review Cultist for Review Cultist. Leave us a rating or review on iTunes. Every little bit helps, and we like to hear how we're doing. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also send us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. Also, if you'd like to send us an email giving us a better title than Dear Guy for a horror movie poster, I might do a poster. Also, you can check out the title cards for each episode at YouTube as part of the movie version or the video version of the podcast, or on crazonstudios.tumblr.com, where I put each title card for each episode and a link to all the audio or to all the podcast
episodes.
Audio. Yeah, the episodes. Also, if you'd like to support us, go to Patreon, look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Choose the tier of backing you'd like to support us at. Depending on the tier you choose, we have behind-the-scenes stuff like sketches, extra audio content, extra bonus episodes, and early access to the episodes a couple of days before they air. So, until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm still Dr. Leviathan.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.
Explaining how to read the watch.
Jesus Christ.
Luckily, reading the watch is idiot-proof.
Nice.
Idiot-proof.
Nice.
Idiot-proof.
Nice.
Idiot-proof.
Nice.
Idiot-proof.
Nice.
Idiot.